Hey everyone, I'm Mike Holmes Jr. This is Lisa Marie Holmes, my
Hello.
wife, and this is Homes at Home. So we want to talk about exactly what we're working on today, what we've been working on the past few weeks.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has spent a lot of time at home, and so people are getting excited about working on their property and making it come alive in the springtime. And so we've definitely spent a lot of time doing things around the house that we may not have had the privilege of doing before spending all this time together.
Yeah, definitely. This is kind of, in a way, I don't want to say it's been a blessing, but you know what I mean?
We're always looking for the positive.
Exactly. The silver linings, we've been able to spend all this time at home working on things that normally we wouldn't have the time to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is the first time we've actually spent this much time together at home since we purchased our house 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Michael and I purchased a century home back in 2016, I think.
Yeah.
Our house was built in 1874, and before that, it had kind of gone into disarray. So we are constantly discovering new things about our house, and we have had lots of fun the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of fun
working on some projects.
I feel like it's been, up until this point, a constant game of like catch up on like cleaning up what the past homeowner left on, like the mess on the property and stuff like that.
Just time.
Time
takes over.
And now we're actually building stuff.
Hi, Gina.
This is the exciting part. So I think, when did we start? Like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so I have always wanted to grow my own vegetable and herb garden. And so we actually decided that now's the time that we can start doing it. And so Michael had me going through a bunch of inspiration. I was on Pinterest, trying to get inspo. It's my first garden. I'm new to it, but we're having lots of fun with it.
Yeah, and of course, I'm showing her a bunch of pictures. I'm like, okay, I can do this. We'll do it out of cedar. I can do these designs. I'll build a nice gate like this.
And it was all good things.
Yeah.
And we've actually now had a few laughs at this, because I would then find on my saves were all stone, and all his saves were all wood-inspired garden raised beds. We're actually talking about raised garden beds. Maybe we should have explained that. And then he laughed and he goes, "Honey, you didn't marry a mason. You married a carpenter."
Yeah. It's like I went to school for carpentry. I'm not a mason, although I did do some landscaping early on in my career. So maybe that's helped a little bit.
Yeah. So we decided to compromise and decided on stone.
Yeah, we met in the middle, and we're building a raised stone garden bed.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been really fun and interesting. Both of us are learning a lot. But we decided on stone for a few reasons. One, longevity. Cedar is a great option, and it's a very affordable option. It's great. It's easy. It will last 10 to 20 years depending on the maintenance of it.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, anytime you're putting wood in soil, that soil, the moisture is going to eat away at that wood, and cedar is going to hold up, as well as pressure treated. But you don't want to use pressure treated for a garden where you're growing vegetables, because you don't want those chemicals leaching into what you're eating.
Yeah.
So
we are doing stone.
We're doing stone. So we have a picture here of the before area of where we're putting our garden, so we can pull that up.
Yeah.
So you can see it's a nice area. It gets a lot of sun throughout the day.
Yeah, that's a partial sun though.
Yeah, that's a partial sun where you're seeing right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's the space. Yeah, just in the evening. That area, I was going out every morning, and every hour I was going out to track the sun exposure. So what you want is, full sun is 6 hours, partial sun is 4 to 6. And so different vegetables and fruits prefer different sun exposure times. So whether it's full sun or partial sun, so you have to consider that when you are choosing the location for your vegetables.
Yes. Yeah.
So we chose that location.
And also, the inspiration for this garden
is the secret garden.
It's a secret garden.
Have you ever seen the movie?
I
Secret Garden?
actually don't think I have.
It's like this whimsical garden. It's so beautiful. It's set in Britain, England. It's like overflowing abundant. So that's also, I guess, why I gravitated towards the stone, was because it had that, like, you've gone back in time in Scotland.
Yes.
Kind of feel to it.
Yeah, and we're on a big, like, Scottish English kick right now, and also for the sake of, like, we want to do it right the first time. We don't want to do it once. We don't want to have to do it again for the rest of our lives. And thankfully, because this stone is so heavy. So I'll show you a picture of the stone. It's Aramosa stone, I believe it's called, which also has another name, Tiger stone.
Tiger stone, yeah.
So there's Keikos, the star there.
He was essentially the most help.
Yeah, I mean, he helped me tamp out the soil. He didn't help me lift the stones in place.
Yeah.
But we laid a big bed of screening underneath because we wanted this garden bed level. Now, what we're not doing is cutting every seam to make it nice and tight next to each other. So that's the first garden bed we did.
Yeah.
And the other pictures were the second garden bed that I'm working on.
Yeah, we have 2.
And the reason you don't see Lisa Marie lifting the stones is because they weigh as much as she does.
Yeah.
Like they are, yeah, David Bond. I know what movie Michael is watching.
Yeah.
Miss you, David. They are so heavy.
They are crazy heavy. Like one split, I guess during the delivery, you know, it had split in half, and I was like, I'll just take the halfie. And I have a photo.
Yeah,
I have one photo of me carrying one stone. But for the rest of the job, I was wheelbarrowing all of the crush from where it got dropped off to the other side of the property. And that's the crush right there. Michael did the rest.
But I mean, she helped in a lot of ways. That Lisa Marie's job is probably bigger than mine because, well, I mean, it's true. Okay, physically, yeah, mine's a lot of work. But you're doing all the seeds. You're growing them from scratch.
Oh yeah, but you know, oh, it's so cute. Okay, if you have started your plants from seeds indoors, there's some that need to be planted 4 to 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost, depending on where you live and what zone you live in. So I have been planting a whole bunch of seeds, and when they start to sprout, I get so excited. There is nothing more rewarding than seeing, like, the expression "you reap what you sow" is very relevant.
Yeah, it's very accurate, turns out. So I think what we should do is maybe after this live, head to Lisa Marie Holmes' page. So it's Lisa Marie Holmes, and maybe you should post some pictures of the seeds, of kind of the process of growing, and then you can also see the picture maybe of her lifting that heavy stone.
Yeah, well, if you guys have any questions, for anyone that's joining and tuning in, if you have any questions on creating your own vegetable or herb garden, please do post them. We are learning together, Michael and I, so there's lots of trials and tribulations, but some of the things that we have realized, you know, just even that conversation between the pros and cons of cedar versus stone. Like, cedar is still a viable option. Again, it's the more economical option. It does have good longevity. It's just higher maintenance. So you just have to ask yourself, what are you wanting to take on? Right.
Sova, you're making this for your mom for Mother's Day. Are you building this out of cedar? Like, what's your plan? How are you guys building your garden beds?
Yeah, that's actually a very considerate Mother's Day present. There's nothing better than, it's homemade. First of all, you're growing it yourself, building it. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great Mother's Day gift. We're kind of trying to keep it as natural as possible. So we're not doing saw cuts on it. We're keeping it. So I posted on Instagram a picture, which I did replace that stone.
The look of the garden bed itself.
Yeah, there was a debate, people telling me to change the stone. I did change it before I posted it. And people were like, your dad wouldn't approve. But so you can see the garden bed there. Yeah. It is massive. I actually haven't measured it yet to see how big it is.
What did we end up? Because it was kind of like this. You had to play with puzzle pieces with the stones.
Mm-hmm. But it looks natural. Like we wanted to have this very natural look to it, not so man-made, you know?
Yeah.
And we're going to grow a lot of vegetables. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, some of my friends are like, so I guess you're not going to be doing, I mean, COVID and self-isolation aside, you know, travel is always something that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of work abroad as well. So if we're able to travel, I don't know if I will be doing much travel because I have a garden to tend to now. Yeah. They're like full-time responsibility.
Yeah, like dogs tie you down, kids apparently tie you down.
And plants now.
And plants apparently.
Yeah, I'm a crazy plant lady.
Yeah. So Lee Ray asks, hello, I'm trying to do a good garden. What is the best soil? So I think triple mix is a really good soil because it has compost in there. It has peat.
What you're gonna want to do is actually test your soil. So I actually maybe should post a video on how to test your soil because we did this quick little trick, and it's a great way for you to test what kind of soil you have, whether it's sand, clay, or what's the fine one called again? Okay.
Limestone?
Come to me. No, it'll come to me. But there's 3 different types of soil. So you want to make sure that you have a good balance because sand is great for drainage, but then doesn't hold the water. Whereas clay, your roots could just soak in the water and end up rotting. So you really want to have that balance. So finding a soil that works for your property and your location, and also the vegetables or fruits that you're planning on growing is something to consider.
Yeah. Also, compost is great for your garden. It's great nutrients for whatever you're growing. But yeah, we do have that test. Lisa Marie did that test.
Yeah.
We haven't posted it yet because I feel like our list is a mile long.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So Rod asks, how high do the stone walls need to be? That's a great question, Rod.
So Rod, we it's not necessarily for us. It's not a need. A lot of raised garden beds, are maybe even, let's say, 12 inches to 16 inches, just to keep small animals off. We're going about
30, I thought, right?
Yeah, close to, I think, 28 to 30 inches because
it's actually a personal preference. Because gardening is supposed to be something that you do for pleasure, right? And so a lot of people in-ground garden beds, we still have them, but just you have to think, depending on the demographic of the person that is gardening, age could be a factor that you want to consider, so they're not hunched over and bent over all day doing the weeding and the maintenance and the clippings and stuff like that.
And we're also trying to think of, like, if we have this home for the rest of our lives, again, we build it once. We don't have to worry when we're older. We have a slight bend to garden, but it doesn't take much. Maduri asks, do you guys compost at home? We do compost, yes.
And you know what? We actually learned this trick. Someone told us that if you collect your coffee grinds and your eggshells and you save them for when your vegetables are in the ground, you can sprinkle that in your garden and it will help ward off little pests, unwanted pests.
Now, we don't know if this is a for sure fact yet because we haven't tested it out, but apparently it's a hot tip.
We've collected the eggshells and the coffee grinds.
That's right.
They better get put to use.
Did you put down screen to keep out the gophers and moles? Valerie Elliott asked. So we put down the screening more as a base to lay a level wall section in. And also, we're using landscape fabric. We're putting cardboard down.
That's actually a really fun tip. My dad used to be a landscaper growing up, and he told me, we just found this out, that actually cardboard boxes are better at preventing weeds growing up through the ground than the landscape fabric is. However, we are going to double down. We have we have leftover recycled cardboard boxes that we haven't. We're just going to reuse, as well as landscape fabric. So it's actually not finished. We're still in the process of making our final touches with the garden beds, but that is something that we're going to be doing. Yeah,
and as well as there's going to be a 3/4 clear, so gravel on the bottom layer on top of the landscape fabric to help with drainage. And if moles can get through that, I'd be very, I feel like they've earned
a
food.
tomato. They can have a potato.
Just one.
Just one. Just to share.
Randy Bush, a higher wall means that you don't have to bend over as much. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
We want it to be, if people want to sit on it, if we have guests over, or we like the look of it a bit higher.
Yeah, more user friendly. But again, we do have in-ground garden beds, so we are not ruling one over the other. A variety, I like variety.
Yeah, and I can't wait to show the finished product. I was up I couldn't fall asleep till I think 2:30 in the morning because I was dreaming of how I want to do the different things in the garden and the path I want to create, and then really excited to show everyone the finished product.
That's really sweet.
Give us a little more time though.
Vern says, are you creating a cover for the garden with the stone? We found a nice cedar garden on Pinterest with a latched cover. I think I know which one you're talking about.
I was going to say, we found it too.
Vern, we saw the same one, and that is brilliant. However, with stone.
Well, we actually,
he knows.
Yeah. So it's a possibility. Honestly, I have to do more research about the pests and the animals. And where we're putting the vegetables and which garden beds. So some of them might grow a little higher, which is going to be hard to grow taller vegetables on. So we are.
Yeah, we are learning with all of you. So if you have any tips, we are more than welcome to. We are open to everything. We are just having so much fun doing all the research and taking, making the best decisions that we think are required. We live a little bit further north. The sun in the summer come a little bit later. Our garden has clay that might be different conditions than yours. So we're just doing our best, but maybe next year we'll have better tips.
Yeah.
Experiment.
We have some good tips. It's just, we're still.
But we're learning.
What is it called? research and development.
Right.
Research, and we've done the research. Now we're doing the development. Valencia commented saying she hasn't had the time before, but now she has time, so she may take up gardening. And I think that's a great idea.
And also Valencia, what a beautiful name.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Okay, Leray Brown again. How can you detour a dog from digging in the garden? Train him. Train that dog. Yeah. Train that dog. Keikos will not be digging in the garden. Also, the raised garden beds are a little bit higher.
I was thinking more literally. I'm like, a fence. But no, train them. That's great.
Yeah.
And we actually do have chickens that live next door, chickens and rabbits. And so for us, we are going to be reinforcing our fence that runs along our neighbor's line. And we're going to dig deeper and dig some chicken wire.
Mm-hmm.
And so make sure that they're unable to come just for that extra protection.
Mm-hmm. We like the chickens. We like the turkeys that come,
They're
the ducks,
so
the rabbits, but we don't want them eating our vegetables.
Yeah, just little things to think about, but all in due time. Baby steps, really just do the best that you can this season and then learn from it and build off of it next season.
Yeah, we got about, I think it was 13 tons of stone. So that's about 26,000 pounds. So you can imagine how much. And by the way, when we do post this video, we're going to post it on social media so you guys can follow along with us.
Garden.
We couldn't have where our driveways and where we're putting the garden are very far from one another. So
it's funny.
It's a great workout.
Sarah says, what are your key vegetables to grow in a garden? That's a great question, Sarah. Well, my favorite vegetable that I grow and the experience of it is the potato. I love pulling potatoes because you see they're just like their stem above the ground and you think, I wonder how many potatoes you're going to get. And then it's so satisfying when you dig it up and there's like 20 little baby potatoes that grew off the roots. And so there's always a pleasant surprise with the potatoes. I know that's a silly answer. Maybe it's silly,
I think that's a great answer.
I love potatoes.
And squash. We're growing lots of squash, zucchini, strawberries.
Yeah, ever-growing strawberries. So they're it's not just like they fruit once and then they're done for the season. These are kind of keep going.
We have a fig tree.
Yeah, fig.
That's not grown in the garden.
Squash, zucchini. Zucchini is always good because it's a great plant. It creates so much that you can give a lot to your neighbors. And so for me, another incentive of growing this vegetable garden is so that we can provide for our community. Hence the size of it. It's going to be a lot of work, but I do want to make sure that my neighbors are well taken care of.
Yeah.
And so everyone likes getting a little basket of zucchinis. There's no doubt about that.
Right. Sarah Hanley, what do you do for weed control? I've used newspaper cover with straw before, but if it dries out and the wind blows, it blows away. So right now, because they're raised garden beds, at least for the raised ones, we'll probably just pick them, try and keep them out that way. And I feel like they won't grow as abundantly in our raised garden beds. For the lower ones, that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure yet.
Yeah, and you know what? This may be very unconventional of me to say, but there is something to be said about weeds. Oftentimes, some of the weeds that we think are the worst, biggest pests can actually be pretty medicinal. So dandelion, for example, is a really potent medicine. So dandelion root is great for the liver and its leaves are great for the kidneys. And so a lot of people in Europe actually eat dandelion salads. So
very good. Just
changing what you think a weed is could actually transform maybe the style of your garden. I think that we'll probably end up having a lot of weeds in our garden.
Yeah, we will.
Just let it grow.
Not to mention bees love dandelions. Like some of the weeds are great homes or like great areas for bees to pollinate and bounce off of. So, we'll do a little bit of weeding, but we're not going to go overboard.
Yeah. And I saw someone say, oh, they like growing potatoes too. So it's not just me then.
Yeah. So follow along with us. We are going to be posting some more stuff on social media. There'll be videos, there'll be pictures.
Yeah. My Instagram handle is lisa.marie.holmes.
Yeah. And mine is Mike Holmes Jr. You can see it there on the key at the bottom. So thank you so much for tuning in and for joining, asking questions.
Yeah, and we will share all of our fun facts as we learn through this process. Yes. Thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day. Mwah.